Welcome to episode 161 of Gods and Heroes of Ancient Greece. My name is MyLinda Butterworth, and today we continue with the tales of Odysseus and the story of the contest with the bow. And now, Penelope too realized that the time had come. She took in her hand a brazen key with an ivory handle, and accompanied by her handmaids, went to a storeroom where many precious utensils of bronze, gold, and iron, the property of Odysseus, were kept. Among these were his bow and a quiver full of arrows, gifts he had once received from a host in Lacedaemon. When Penelope had unlocked the door, she slid back the bolt, and the creak was loud as the bellow of a bull in the pasture. The door flew open, and Penelope entered. The bow and quiver were hanging on the wall. She stood on her toes, reached up for them, and took them down. But when she held them in her hands, grief overwhelmed her. She threw herself in a chair and gave way to tears. At last she rose and left the room. The servants followed, carrying the bow and quiver. She went straight to the suitors, called for silence, and said, "You, who have been wooing me so long a time, listen to what I have to say. Let him who wishes to win me hold himself in readiness, for now we shall have a contest. Here is the great bow of my noble husband. Whoever can bend it and shoot an arrow through the holes of 12 axes, set up one behind the other, shall take me to wife, and with him I shall leave this palace, the house of my first husband." When she had spoken, she bade the swineherd lay the bow and the arrows before the suitors. As Eumaeus took the weapon, his eyes were wet. And Philoetius, the cowherd, wept too. This angered Antinous. "Stupid peasants," he grumbled. "Why do you make the queen's heart heavy with your tears? Eat all you want in silence or lament outside. We suitors have to go about this trying contest, for I do not think it will be easy to bend that bow. Not one among us is as strong as Odysseus. I remember him perfectly, though I was only a little boy when he left." So said Antinous, but in his heart he already saw himself bending the bow and shooting the arrow through the holes of the axes. But to him fate had allotted the first shaft to be launched by the hand of Odysseus. And now Telemachus rose and said, "Zeus must have addled my brain. Here's my mother declaring her willingness to leave this house to follow a suitor. Yet I'm standing by with a smile? Well then, you suitors, you are about to wage a contest for a woman who has not her equal in all of Greece. But you know that yourselves, and I need not din my mother's praises in your ears. Begin then, and bend the bow. I wish I could take my turn with you, for if I won, my mother would not go from here." When he had finished speaking, he unslung his sword and cast off his crimson mantle. Then he drew a single furrow along the floor of the hall and fixed the axes in the ground, one after the other, and stamped the earth hard around them. Everyone admired his strength and the sureness and the accuracy of his movements. Then he himself gripped the bow. 3 times he strained to bend it, but 3 times he failed. When he tried a 4th time, he was about to succeed when his father motioned to him and stopped him. "Gods of Olympus," Telemachus cried, "either I am a weakling or too young and not yet able to fend off an attacker. You are stronger than I, so you try it." And so saying, he leaned the bow and quiver against the doorpost and seated himself in his chair. With an air of great triumph, Antinous rose and said, "Come, my friends, let us take turns from left to right, the way the cupbearer goes." Then Liodes rose. He was the one who poured the libations and always sat in the innermost part of the hall by the big mixing bowl. Of all the suitors, he was the only one who was dismayed by their wanton deeds, and he hated the noisy mob of feasters. Quietly he went to the threshold and attempted to bend the bow, but he could not. "Let another try," he said, letting his delicate hands drop to his sides. I am not the right man for this, and perhaps no one here will succeed." With these words he leaned the bow and quiver against the post. But Antinous reproved him, saying, "That was an unpleasant speech, Lyodes. Just because you could not bend the bow, is that sufficient reason to claim that no one else can? Come, Melanthius," he continued, and turned to the goatherd, "light a fire, put a chair in front of it, and bring us thick slices of fat from the kitchen. We shall warm this dried-out bow and grease it, and then it will be easier to handle." All was done as he had bidden, but the bow was just as inflexible as before. In vain, one suitor after another tried to bend it. Finally, only two were left, Antinous and Eurymachus. And here is where I end my tale for today. But I'll be back with more tales, many more tales. Until then, my friends, enjoy the journey.